Thank you, Sir Chair, for picking a stellar delegation. My proposal revokes Executive Order 12333, which currently forbids the U.S. government from performing assassination attempts. However, this proposal will not allow assassinations of U.S. citizens or any attempts to kill domestic or foreign citizens in the crossfire. A successful assassination of a dangerous foreign dictator could prevent mass civilian suffering and casualties, both in a foreign country and potentially on American soil. This is not saying that all oppressive dictators should be killed by the U.S. government. It is not the job of the United States to be the world's policeman. An assassination should only be considered for an individual foreign leader who poses an imminent threat to America or the international community, and one where the situation does not allow him or her to be given due process and a fair trial. Dictatorships rely heavily upon the sole head of state, so an assassination could likely lead to a radical change of government without the significant human and monetary costs of a long war. The passage of this proposal also would not violate any international law. Using lethal force against one specific individual is not outlawed in any significant law governing warfare, including the UN Charter or Geneva Conventions. It is forbidden in the Charter of the International Criminal Court, but the U.S. is not a member of this body. As long as the U.S. intelligence officials realize and anticipate the possible harmful consequences for their actions, the option of an assassination should be available if that proves to be the most ideal option for removing a dangerous tyrant. Thank you, and I yield the remainder of my time my summation.
Troy Hart, representing the Model United Nations delegation. Thank you, Sir Chair. Assassination is currently defined by most people in international law as an act often involving an element of surprise, an act that would result in the killing of a public figure, official representative, or head of state of a nation. Currently, the stated goals of the proposal will not be met by the proposal for action and the justification methods that the author has specified in his proposal. One of the major reasons that the author justifies this bill is because international law does apparently expressly not forbid the use of assassinations. I argue that this is not the case. In the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations of 1969, it is stipulated that nations will take the best measures to ensure that its own nationals do not harm internationally protected persons under its own jurisdiction. Whether or not these assassinations take place on United States territory is immaterial, because authorization of an assassination of a foreign national itself implies active personality jurisdiction on the part of the U.S., thereby violating the convention. Also, the proposal makes extensive use of the Caroline test as a means of justifying assassination. However, the Caroline incident is now largely irrelevant in the scope of international law. The Caroline incident occurred in 1837, and the standards involved in the Caroline test were established by letters between then Secretary of State Daniel Webster and the Foreign Minister of the United Kingdom under the reign of Queen Victoria. Since then, the International Law Commission has passed several draft articles which have upped the standard of proportionality. Therefore, the Caroline test is largely irrelevant here. Also, the proposal states in its justification section that the United Nations Charter does not specifically prohibit assassinations. However, both Articles 4 and 51 specifically prohibit the use of armed aggression unless a nation is taking self-help measures to counteract the use of force that another nation has already posed upon it. Furthermore, in the International Court of Justice case, Democratic Republic of Congo versus France in 2000 and France versus Djibouti in 2009, the court recognized the principle that a foreign leader cannot be tried, requested as witness, or punished in a court of law in another nation. The author of this proposal hopes that we believe that skipping this court and simply shooting a bullet into the head of a foreign national is somehow legal, when the use of a court, which is generally recognized as more legitimate, is not. This proposal states it would not discourage the pursuit of other means of resolving conflict, because assassinations are expedient forms of exercising policy.
Thank you, Delegate. Your time has elapsed.
Josh Shamble, South Carolina delegation. A shot, that's all it takes. One trigger pull and millions of American lives are saved. It may sound like an action-packed summer blockbuster, but it could be true. Through this proposal, the author aims to take this and turn it into an option for the president. The whole point of this proposal is to save lives, whether it means preventing a war and preventing costly invasions, overtaking a country, and bloody withdrawals. You will save American soldiers. Likewise, it can also be used to prevent terrorist attacks against the U.S. and other nations, saving American and civilian lives, possibly in the millions. This proposal doesn't authorize or advocate assassination. It is merely giving the option of political assassination to the United States in the event of an emergency. This won't be the only option the president uses to solve everything, but the president is our commander-in-chief and should be able to consider all options to avert disaster. If this option is chosen, it will save lives. If not, it remains as one of the tools to combat international terrorism. I urge you to vote for this proposal to allow the president to use this option, if necessary, and save countless lives from death and destruction. I yield the rest of my time to the chair.
Thank you, Sir Chair Hernandez, Nuevo Mexico. I reserve my right to yield all remaining time to Delegate Crawford.
That is your right.
Personally, I believe that this bill is completely ineffective. Killing a figurehead of a nation just turns them into a martyr, which turns us into a much worse situation, much like it did with the political assassination, unauthorized by the way, of Che Guevara in the 1960s. I yield all remaining time to Crawford.
Thank you, Sir Chair. Thank you, Delegate. Minnesota Crawford. The main problem that I see with this proposal is that it condemns the assassination of foreign leaders. America claims to be striving for a world of peace. Yet, what is peaceful about an assassination of the leaders of nations that we claim to be trying to ally ourselves with? Passing this proposal creates another double standard in that we are a nation that has been plagued by both successful and unsuccessful attempts at assassination. We claim that the action should not be done to any other one out of act of pity or because of the way that we know how assassination attempts hurt us. Yet, by passing this, we risk hurting our alliances for the fear of this aggressive action. Others will view this proposal as an action of aggression against them because we are now condemning an assassination of their own leaders. The political ramifications of private assassination attempts were enough of others to question both our integrity and our hegemony. JFK's The Bay of Pigs completely proves this. Let alone a public assassination attempt would completely throw the world upside down, in that it would just completely outrage the world, in that we, the United States of America, are condemning assassinations against others' leaders, and this is what we cannot do, and I urge that you negate this proposal. I yield my time to the chair.